Welcome to another episode of Conversaciones con el Capitán García Gasca. Today we will speak about how to learn from everything and everybody. First, how you learn from everybody. You absorb human wisdom. As explored before, people around you, regardless of rank, background, or field, carry experiences, perspective, and insight that your own path couldn't generate. Staying open to everyone keeps you connected to the full spectrum of human knowledge. But second one, how you learn from everything. Equally powerful dimensions opens. When you learn from everything, the world itself becomes your teacher. First, how you learn from failures and mistakes. These are perhaps the richest source of learning, yet the most emotionally resisted. Every mistake is a system revealing how it actually works, not how you thought it did. Professionals who learn from failure rather than just recovering from it compound their growth exponentially. Second, friction and discomfort. When something feels hard, boring, or frustrating, that's usually a signal about a gap in your skills, a flaw in the process, or an unmet need in the environment. Most people endure discomfort, learners interrogate it. Third, repetition, routine. Routine can look like an opposite of learning, but deep expertise often live in the details of repeated actions. The surgeons who notice something slightly off in a procedure they have done 1,000 times. The teacher who reads a student subtle hesitation. Attention transforms repetition into mastery. Fourth, nature and systems outside your field. The way water finds its path, the ecosystem balance themselves. The way cities self-organize, nature and complex systems are full of principles that translate powerfully into business, leaderships, and creativity. The best thinkers borrow models from everywhere. Fifth, silence and stillness. Not everyone that teaches you makes noise. Reflection, pauses, and solitude allow you to process what you have experienced. Without them, you accumulate experiences without digesting them, busy but not growing. Six, art, culture, and beauty. Great literature, music, and design teach emotional intelligence, pattern recognition, and the ability to hold complexity. Many extraordinary professionals are also voracious readers, musicians, or artists, not by coincidence. Seven, unexpected context and random conversations. A conversation at a dinner party, a documentary watched by chance, a trip to an unfamiliar place. Breakthroughs often came or come from collisions between unrelated worlds. If you only consume what directly relating to your job, you starve your creativity. On our 17th conversation, we have a very good friend, Yvette de Klerk, from South Africa and the Warren Maritime University alumni. She had worked in different positions related to training at different maritime companies. On our 18th conversation, we have another good friend of mine, Natasha Bodington, from South Africa and New Zealand. She has so many years of experience in human resource matters. Once again, welcome again to the Conversaciones con el Capitán García Gasca.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have my guest. Her name is Yvette de Klerk. She's all the way from South Africa. A good friend of mine from a long time, and she's one of the good professionals that I worked with her before. Yvette, good afternoon. I want to start the conversation with one punchline that I'm going to read now. This punchline is related to our conversation that we're going to have now. And it says like this: you will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you. True power is sitting back and observing things with logic. True power is restraint. If words controls you, that means everyone else can control you. Breathe and allow things to pass. In other words, or in simple words, never take anything personal. Welcome, Yvette, one more time. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi again. It's a pleasure to be here. But I just want to first, before I introduce myself, I think I needed to hear that punchline myself. It's a good reminder. And as they say, leaders never stop learning. So sometimes you need those reminders for yourself as well. But yes, hi from sunny South Africa. As Eduardo said, my name is Yvette. And yes, I'm delighted to be here today to have a little bit of a chat. Long time we haven't spoken. So I think, a little bit of a catch up in what I've been doing in terms of maritime education and training.
Yeah. Well, as I said, this my main goal out of these informal conversations, the main objective is to have it like this, casual between two professionals, and that the few people or most of the people who will see these videos that they will catch it on that way. So let's start. Through your career, how important do you think that is to have a good mentor, a good leader at the beginning of your career, to guide you?
It is extremely important. And I think through the years, things have obviously changed a lot. And I often think back of some of the very first mentors I had. And at the time, you didn't necessarily consider them as mentors, but they were. And you learn some of the good qualities that makes as a good professional in any career, whether it is maritime or not. And you also, I think, learn a lot from the bad habits or some of the things you want to learn that I do actually not want to be like that one day when I grow up. So for sure, it is extremely important. And especially in this fast pace, how everything is changing, there's a lot of the old that is still good and relevant that we need to be careful that we don't kind of throw that out, just focusing on all the new and new technologies.
Yeah, I think you nail it there. And if I can add something, first, that we are not going to have only one mentor. We're going to have a lot of mentors. Like you said, sometimes they don't even know that they are your mentors, but they are there because, of course, sometimes you can choose them. Sometimes they will choose you. Uh, in addition to that, you have so many different type of humans. Like you can be a genius, you can be the best in any craftsmanship or any career, but there are some people like that they don't even know how to pass the knowledge. They don't even know how to pass the experience. But I would say that type of people, only by their role model, by their example, just by looking at them, you are like, wow, how this guy handled this situation, how this guy did this. I want to be like this guy or these women. It is something that is nothing like written in stone. It's just that the things happen. The knowledge, the wisdom, the experience is just passed through. Of course, if you are lucky enough to have somebody who will really take you under their wings and they, take your hand and walk you through everything, of course, that will be the best. I believe that the students or the apprentice, they need to be very receptive, very observant and seeing that, okay, this guy, I want to be like this guy or these women because I like the way he handled the situations. And you mentioned also, sometimes you have not so good mentors or not so good leaders. And then you learn things like, okay, I don't want to be like this person, so I will not do it like this. So all of these things are adding up on that first steps that you give either in the university or in the career or any craftsmanship that you want to follow, art, craft, careers, maritime, whatever. So that is very important what you mentioned. Nowadays everybody talks about this mentor as a term, mentor, coach, facilitators. But in the old days, like on the 50s, 60s, 40s, it was more organic. Like if your dad was a doctor, you knew that you were going to be a doctor because you were following. And then your dad maybe was your mentor at home, but also in the professional side. Let's say if your dad or your mom, they were shoemakers or painters. So you will stay with them and they will be your mentors because they will teach you the things. Maybe with not so many theory, but just by the experience, directly to the point. Okay, this is like this is like that. So nowadays, this new era of mentoring has become more fashion, but definitely is something that is important for everybody. And one more comment is about the new generation. You mentioned about the basic and the old stuff. And I love that comment that you make, because most of the new generation, it's difficult. I think we need to adapt to them, to try to make them learn in a different way, because we learn in one way, they learn in a different way. So I don't know if you have any comments about that.
I can probably write a book. That has pretty much been my last few years, is maritime education and training, and in different capacities and in different roles. So I was head of training for a ship management company. So we probably had 100 and odd vessels, 7,000 crew, and I was responsible for the training of that. When I joined, it's one of the older ship management companies. When I looked at just initially the PowerPoint presentations, I kid you not, there were slides or PowerPoint decks with 500 slides. It was just keeping on, because it was, say, back in the day of the Titanic sinking. And the Titanic sinking led to these conventions, and that led to this. And the actual content of what that training course was supposed to be is the introduction to the ship management company and their SMS. And I said, I think we can slash like the first 450 slides and then work with the last 50 and fine tune it. Yeah. So there are challenges in what I said, the old and the new. Certain things you need the foundation, you need the grounding, to understand. And that's not going to change, but there is a lot of new things that need to come in. And then people learn differently. I see some are creating TikTok videos. Great. Yes. It's short, it's catchy for some things, but some others you need hands-on. You can't learn or for VR for certain things, but for others there is a place. And this is the ongoing challenge in keeping all the generations. And if I say generations, it's not necessarily old or young. You can have a very old master, but he is more in tune with technology than I probably am. It's also an attitude. And likewise for the younger generation. So these are the ongoing challenges that pay our bills and keep us alive and keep us loving what we're doing.
Correct. If I can add something now that you mentioned about the technologies, the new generation have this kind of like a quick learning, right? They get it very fast with either YouTube videos, TikToks. You mentioned something about the VR, the virtual reality. Now they are making these simulators for the maneuverings, everything with the VR. And of course, yes, it will help you a lot. But I would say also that in addition of the technology also, we must not lose the critical thinking and the questioning. Because if they tell us something and we just believe that without even questioning or without even challenging, then, we're going to be like living out of the artificial intelligence. So that's something that is important.
I fully agree. The more technology you bring in, the more critical thinking you need to bring in with it. We can just turn on the TV or social media and fake news and, I don't know, lions jumping out of an airplane. And you're like, surely that's not real. Critical thinking for sure.
It's something that we need to push also, because I heard one time, one guy told me, the moment one young guy asks you something, he just want to make sure, because he already checked it online, he just want to make sure that you know. And of course, we try to know everything. We cannot have the extensive hard drive to know everything. But the good thing from us is that we know how to find answers, and then we can share it with them. That's definitely something that the new generation have. They are so quick. Now is everything moving so fast that on our days was not like that. On our days, I remember, like, the word of the master was like the absolute truth. You couldn't challenge him. But now it's different.
Yeah, and now there's training courses in getting juniors to challenge the master. but these and it should be like that. Again, we accept and we honor the hierarchy, because it is also there for a safety critical industries. It should be like that. But this is coming back to soft skills in general, critical thinking, having difficult conversations, giving critical feedback, maybe a performance appraisal. It's all of these things. And again, when in my previous roles of the shipping company, is these are what the officers were asking. We need more leadership training. We need more because as is STCW, the current curriculum, it's technically focused. Even every day, that is the most difficult part of any shoreside job I had. It is the people management. This is the difficult thing. And it comes with the nurturing, the mentorship. Someone tells you, helps you. You don't say it that way. There's better ways of doing it, of conveying a message. It is these human skills, human element skills that we need. And
I don't know if I don't know if I should share this one, but I remember I had one old captain when I started, and he told me something that it sounds funny to me, but for some people will not be funny. You know, he was very old. He was old school, hardcore old school. So he was always saying, I need to retire because I will never learn to talk to the young officers because the only way I know is to shout. I believe that's the way they will learn. And again, for me, it was a little bit funny because he was really realizing that he was not anymore for this. But other people will say why he didn't want to change. So there are some people who will not change, and they were like that. And for me, I learned from that guy, from that same captain. He told me the phrase, don't take anything personal. All of the shouting, all of the constructive criticism, the feedback, the comments, the opinion that I made are for you to learn. So take it professionally, and then you will develop and become better. But the moment I say something and you take it personal, and then you block yourself from learning, that's it. You are not going to learn anything. So I remember that captain very well. I mean, he was very sarcastic also, you know, like the comments were like, wow, he told me this, but at the end, that was his way of teaching. Again, now he retires. He's out of these things because I know he wouldn't survive. How is the new world?
I also find, and sometimes I struggle with my personality. I am South African. It is probably not great, but I think it is. We say something as we see it, which sometimes I really need to think before I say something that you don't inadvertently maybe offend somebody because your chosen words maybe offended someone. And I'm finding it more and more difficult sometimes to do.
Yeah.
I think it's, but it is also, there's so much more, and perhaps with the younger generation is they are more offended more quickly. It is a challenge, but again, it is also a challenge then for us as older folk to work on ourselves. And like you say, find it difficult to change, but you need to embrace change. Keep this momentum going, and the integration of different nationalities, cultures, age, male, female. We need to be, as you mentioned earlier, inclusive.
It's a challenge, and also, as you mentioned, we that work on the maritime business, the main challenge that I always find is the cultural diversity. Have so many people that is from different cultures, and even sometimes even from the same country, if they're from different cities, is different. So I found it like I've been fortunate that I sell with so many different nationalities that I can kind of presumption the way they are gonna react into some things that I say, and I also expect how they're gonna talk to me. Like we work with Scandinavians, Norwegians, Swedish, Finnish. Then I work also with Mediterranean people, Croatians, Italians, Spanish, Portuguese. And I work also with Latinos like me. So everybody reacts different. You need to create a way to adapt. And the main thing is that if you are an apprentice, you need to be open. You cannot be close. You need to be a sponge. You need to absorb so many things. Role models, advices, situations, listening, observing, and later speaking, not jump to speak before observing and listening. So that's something that I believe the new generation and also few people of the old generation, they
Yeah.
should work on it.
100%. That is an intergenerational challenge. But again, and like I said, especially the maritime industry is multicultural and multinational. It's very seldom. And just yesterday, again, in a lecture at World Maritime University, it came up in a discussion where I said, I've worked with shipping companies in my previous life here in South Africa as a crewing agent, where it was the ship owner's decision to only have, for instance, a particular 3 nationalities on board. And that became a huge discussion point. But why this and how can they do this? Well, they can because they're the ship owner. They can do what they want. Yeah. But in that instance, it was because those 3 completely different nationalities did have a lot in common, from religion to kind of way of life, etc., etc. And that made it much more cohesive on board. But that was one example. Others, it isn't. So you could be the only South African on a ship. And again, note to the younger generation, embrace that. It's don't like, I'm the victim, I'm the only one. Oh, you're the only one. It's like, turn it into your strength. And learn, like you say, be a sponge. Learn as much as you can.
No, it's true. It's true. And nowadays on the maritime business, also we have an extra thing now that is coming, that is the gender thing. Because as I said, when I grew up professionally, I have only males role models, only male figures. My female figures are my mom, my aunts, my grandmother, when I was little. But nowadays you're gonna encounter female role models too, that are growing and they're becoming captains. So that gender side is important to be open to it, because it's gonna, everything is changing and you don't know what is gonna come.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to, there is strength in different opinions, whether it is male, female, or whatever in between, whether it is young or old, whether it is Latino or European, those different perspectives. There was a really good book of what someone recommended some time ago. And it is exactly on this, the cognitive diversity. Because that is it. If it's always just the same, if you don't open yourself up to different perspectives and learning, you will always only know the bit that you know in your little circle in your little circle of comfort. You learn and you grow when you are actually outside of your comfort zone.
That's a perfect line. You learn when you go out of your comfort zone. If you don't go out of the comfort zone,
done sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. But you need to, there is a say, like, what means insanity or madness is keeping doing the same things and expecting different results. Like, you need to understand that if you keep doing the same things, you're not going to get different results. You need to change something, either out of the comfort zone or out of anything that you are doing, your habits, your routines, and then to get a different result. Because if not, you will remain the same.
Yeah. And added to that, you could potentially get the same result, if this is the desired result of what you want, by doing it different ways. So there's the flip side of that as well. So again, be open to, okay, what else could have done or what else could have led to this outcome.
You mentioned something important that I learned also through the years, that everybody will have, in order to get one result, you have different ways of solving a problem. Because as I mentioned, we sail with Scandinavians, with Latinos, with Filipinos, with Asians. And I remember when I started that everybody was doing, to get to the same result, let's put an example, a gyro error. Everybody was doing it different. Everybody have different calculations, but they all reached the same result. And then I realized, wow, my school was not the only one. I learned one way in Panama, but then I learned a different way from Croatia, and I learned a different way from the Filipinos. So if you are open to get everything, you are like, wow, there are different ways of doing the same thing,
Uh-huh.
you end up with the same result. So that is really interesting.
That example, I remember when I was in school, I didn't really like mathematics very much.
Uh-huh.
And I was in primary school and I was struggling. My dad had to help me because my dad's really good at maths. And I
Yeah.
said to him, but the teacher showed me a different way. So I was so, I couldn't, I was like, no, show me the way the teacher showed me in class. He's like, I don't know what she showed you in class. I'm showing you this way that I
Correct.
know will work.
Correct.
But again, it is coming back to don't be offended, be open.
Yeah.
Keep learning.
Exactly. These are like basic things, like soft skills, as you mentioned, that the apprentice need to have. They need to be open. Also with motivation, with ambition, to learn. So that is something that I would always recommend the new generation that I am having, the new cadets. You need to have this hunger, this ambition. You need to be also self-taught, proactive. You need to go and get things, because if not, the things are not coming from the sky. The things, you need to go get them.
Exactly. There's
Something
no
that
freebie.
is correct. There is no such thing as a free lunch.
No such thing as a free lunch. So I'm not sure what I'm going to get for doing this. But no, joking. Coming back, and this reminds me of when I was obviously a cadet on board the same ship as you. When I started with my studies in Australia, and then I went to sea, and I was supposed to go back to Australia. But instead of going back to Australia, I said, no, I wanted to study in my own country. But the obviously the curriculums were slightly different. So I didn't cover most of the things that they covered in South Africa. We didn't cover, and things we covered in Australia in like my pre-sea phase is something that was in the like final semester at Cape Town, where I eventually then finished the studies. But in getting into that, they eventually accepted me. So I joined half the year. So they gave me kind of, okay, we think you kind of did the first year, which actually I then realized wasn't the equivalent. So coming back to the self-study, the put the effort in, the hard work, I had to work probably double as hard to then prove that I'm actually deserving. You've given me now the chance. And then I realized I actually don't know what I'm supposed to know. I don't even know half the things I'm supposed to know. So that took a lot of effort to then actually, there's that self-motivation. You want to be here. This is the career you've chosen. So you better work for it if this is what you want. So blood, sweat, a lot of tears.
No, there will be
That's how you get
tons of stepping stones through your career, but that doesn't need to demotivate you. That doesn't need to disappoint you. It's just something that it happens to everybody. I mean, if we just could press a button and get 20 years ahead, I mean, we
How
cannot do that.
boring would that be?
Exactly. How boring would that be? That's the right word. But I'm really glad you see the conversation went very nice, very casual, very informal. I don't know if you have any last words that you would like to share,
Words, pearls of wisdom. Let me think.
or a story or something that is always in your memories about somebody who teach you something.
Well, there's a few, but we've already touched on it already. It was in whether they know they are your mentors or not. You need to be open to learn from them. And coming back to what I mentioned earlier is, and this was when I was a cadet on board Norwegian Gem many, many moons ago. I won't go into the details of the two captains. You probably could figure it out yourself with what I'm about to say. Captain 1, super relaxed, cigar on the bridge. Everybody, just a relaxed atmosphere. Signed off. Captain B came on, and it was like everybody, you could just sense that stress and pressure, and it was one of the worst feelings. And I was a cadet, so I thought, I don't know how you guys do it. But there's what I learned. I don't ever want to be in that kind of situation. That was just an example on a ship. I had very similar, those types of scenarios when I did ballet dancing. I had two different ballet teachers. The one wants it this way, the one wants it that way. And it got to the point where you learned, all right, this one, I'll turn my arm this way. This one, I'll do that. Because you need to adapt to your situation. And I think that is probably then my little pearl of wisdom. you need to be flexible, you need to be adaptable.
Yeah.
There's a term, especially not just in maritime and everywhere, they use VUCA. But anyway, it's the world we are living in. And the only thing that you can actually survive in this is you need to have that resilience, adaptability, flexibility. And I'd say, yeah, be open to learn and be open to change.
Correct. You nail it there at the end. I mean, it's true. It's just about you need to adapt. You need to have that willingness to learn. There will be so many different leaders, so many different bosses, good ones, not so good ones, and if you have that willingness to get to be a sponge, you're gonna get what you want. And nothing is, like you said, there are no freebies. You need to work for it. And yeah, I think that's mainly it.
One, as you were talking, just thinking, it comes to what I've mentioned, but it is your attitude, and it's not just from as someone getting into the industry now, wanting to learn and progress. Flip it around. Shoreside, looking to hire skills and these types of things you can learn, but an attitude, it's kind of inherent.
Correct.
And oftentimes that is it. Your next career move is not necessarily about what you know. It's about your attitude.
Exactly. That's exactly like that. You never know like what is the next one unless you have a different attitude to adapt to anything different. But yeah, as I said, thanks again. I really appreciate your time. This was fabulous. The comments, the flow was very nice. So I really enjoy it. Thanks again one more time. And I think for now, we'll see. And if any other topic that I will I will present it to you, and maybe we can have another conversation.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and I didn't swear. I didn't do anything, so it should be okay.
That's the most important, no swearing.
I think I did. I really enjoyed it. So please, if there's anything else you ever think I can contribute to a conversation, I'll happily do that.
Excellent. Well, for now, I can just say thank you and bye.
Enjoy.
Yes.
Take care. Cheers.
Good morning, everybody. We are here today. We have our guest of honor today is Natasha Bodington, all the way from South Africa / also New Zealand. Welcome, Natasha. I would like to start our conversation with something that I found in the internet, and I think is related to the conversation of today. And it's going something like this. What is luck? Luck is the phenomenon of experiencing positive or negative events that occur by chance rather than through one's own direct controls or actions. It is often described as a mix of fortuitous circumstances, being in the right place at the right time, or random, unpredictable events. Is it a label used to interpret favorable, improbable, or random occurrences? In addition to that, there was a Roman Stoic philosopher, Seneca, his name, and he defined luck as luck is what happens when preparations meet opportunity. So he believed that rather than being a matter of pure chance or fortune, luck is the result of continuous self-improvement, hard work, and readiness. Well, Natasha, welcome again. I don't know if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Natasha, born in South Africa, moved to New Zealand, and now I'm on ships all over the world.
As all, maybe you were wondering, Natasha is a human resources professional. She's been working for a long time in the human resource matters. Natasha, I would like to ask you the first question. During your career, how important was it to have, like a good mentor or a good leader when you start in your career?
Well, I was lucky enough to have quite a few people that was naturally just mentors. So I never planned to have them, but they just appeared in my life. So I would say a mentor appears in your life at the right time, and that might be linking to your luck that you were mentioning. So I've had quite a few different ones. since school time up until now. Every time I get into a new industry and I need to learn new things, there's always somebody that teaches me something that I don't know.
If I can add there, you just nail it with that one, that we have uh, not only one mentor but a lot of mentors at the beginning. And as you mentioned, it was like, sometimes they say like right moment, right time. They just see kind of like your attitude, that you are humble, and they just take you by the hand and bring you towards the learning experience. So
Yes,
that is a good thing. There is a good thing that you have that kind of luck, as you say. I was always told by some of my mentors and my leaders that I had before, that you will learn from everybody, not only from the mentors, from the people on your same level, but also
yes,
from the people that is below you.
definitely.
And it's like kind of it's a road, but it's a two-way road. You learn from them in the same way that they will teach you something, and you will teach them something.
Yes,
And I heard also that sometimes you can even learn from leaders or mentors that are maybe not so good as were you expecting it, because you will learn the things how not to do something. So
yes,
I don't know
definitely.
if you have comments about that.
Yeah, well, coming to that part, in my career, I had to deal with unions, and a lot of people find unions as a negative thing, but I always made the effort to make friends of them. But in one example that I can give you, where you learn from people you never know that you would want to learn from, it would be a union representative. He really washed my head in a disciplinary, and it was like the most horrible feeling, but looking back on it, I've actually learned so much. That's one mistake I will never make again. So we do learn through hard times as well.
Sure, sure. No, yeah. I would say that through all of our career, when we start, even on the university, there are either professors or teachers, whatever, that you believe that they're like, okay, this guy is just putting stones on my road. Like, how will I learn something if this guy is just blocking me, kind of? But
Yes,
at the end, like you said, later you realize that, no, you know what, this guy was there, or this person was there to teach me something, and then I learned the lesson, or learned the wisdom, let's say. So
yes,
that's a good thing.
yes,
Yeah. No, definitely this thing of you know nowadays everybody talks about the word mentor or coach, or kind of facilitator for to being on the education business. But I think that like 50, 60 years ago, let's go back to the 50s and 60s, this mentoring thing was more organic, let's say. Like if your dad was a doctor, you were following more or less your dad. So he was bringing you into the profession. Or if you were like into any craftsmanship or arts, like if your dad was a painter or your dad was a shoemaker, so you will be with him. So he will become your mentor, right? And without too much theory, you will learn the craftsmanship, or you will learn the art of you are doing. But nowadays, you go to the university, and then when you become your first, let's say, professional job, you really need somebody that can guide you, let's say, guide you through all the process. Now, another comment is on regards of, this is a very delicate topic, but about like the new generation and the old generation.
yes.
Everybody learns in different ways, but I don't know if you have any comments about that.
Well, as you know, in any industry, there's at least five generations working together, and each generation thinks differently and are just differently, totally. You'll get the older generation that's more like I say, well, I can say humble, but also proud, and they really strict in their ways. They're not so much for adapting, whereas the new generation always challenges and goes for higher positions. But the problem with the um, with some of the newer and younger generations, some are really feeling entitled. And I think that's when they get blocked with mentoring, because if they feel like they know everything, they'll never learn anything. And so it's really important to be humble and want to learn from people and take opportunities from people that can teach you something. Um, so sometimes it needs to be a bit of a balance where whereas older generations, generation boomers, would be really loyal people, and like you say, would work in the old ways of following dads and moms in previous. So that's what the difference is. Not all dads and moms these days are doing exactly what the new generations are doing. So they need to go for mentoring, otherwise they'll just be hanging in the air and never really get somewhere if they don't want to accept mentoring or help.
Yeah, that's I mean, you said it right there, that I mean, we kind of have to adapt, from the old school to the new school, or old generation to the new generation, because I believe that we are in some kind of cycle, right? Like I always say, like my grandfather, for example, he was talking about my father's generation, and then my father's generation talks about my generation, and then now we are talking about our son's generation. So it's gonna be like a cycle. We need to adapt. But you also say something important that is related to the first thing, that the new generation or any generation have to be humble and open to learn, to have that ambition to learn, in order that whoever is on top of you is willing to help you. Because if you come with a little bit of arrogance, or like you said, entitlement, then nobody is going to teach you anything, because they are just going to block you, and
Mm.
you're not going to get anything out of it.
Yes. I think also there's some benefits and drawbacks to both the older way of teaching and the newer way of teaching.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, nothing is perfect, but
Mm.
I believe that with some trial and error, the people will get there. I wanted to ask you about, I mean, your comment about something that I noticed. Nowadays we have so much technology, these platforms with artificial intelligence and all of these things. And of course, the new generation is just kind of depending only into that one. They are not going into the interaction, like we said, with the leaders, with the mentors. They are just believing kind of blindly only on the technology. And I would say that this is a little bit dangerous, because you need to have at least some kind of reasoning, let's say. I don't know if you have a comment about that.
Yeah. Like I say, there's drawbacks and benefits of both. I'm sure there's a lot of benefits. You'll get a lot of information very quickly, whereas a lot of a lot of jobs actually need some sympathy and like empathy and some human touch. And the only way you'll get that is if you have like a voluntary relationship with a mentor or mentee, so that they can teach you the feelings behind all of it, because everything's just not just numbers and words. There's some feelings behind things as well, and some things that you need to understand. So um, AI won't tell you the feelings behind things, whereas when you do have a mentor that you can speak to, you could use each other as a soundboard, and that sometimes helps a lot, because you might feel like you need an answer from your mentor, but if you speak to them, even if they keep quiet, you'll sometimes get your own answer without even getting the answer from them. And that's also a mentor's job, to actually challenge you to think a bit for yourself. So they might ask more questions so you can think about things. So that's where the difference is between the digital world and where somebody can really challenge you, because AI can't challenge you to think critically.
Eh, I think you mentioned something very important there, that the artificial intelligence platforms, they don't develop your critical thinking, your reasoning. You are just like blindly believing whatever they are saying. But in fact, I think that's something that we need to develop more into the new generations, that they need to use, I don't like to use that phrase, but they need to use more the brain, not just to read and copy paste, but read
And get
and
the
think,
answers. Yes.
okay, is this coming from a good source? Is this really true? Maybe I double check these things and then, follow on it. Because sometimes, I mean, nowadays, everything is like so automatic. You just type something in the computer and you get the answer. But
Yeah.
if you're just gonna follow that answer blindly without any questioning, then yes, it can bring you into places that you are not expected to be. But yeah, it's definitely some challenge about that. Um,
Yes.
another comment related to the mentoring process and this, and also about the new generation, is that I remember always one captain telling me, when somebody wants to really teach you or share their knowledge, sometimes they're gonna give you comments, opinions, constructive criticism, some feedback. And he always, I remember he told me, Eduardo, never take anything personal. But nowadays, as you mentioned, there is feelings involved when you are giving the comments, the opinions, and feedback. So I don't know if you have any other comments about that.
Yes, some people cannot take on critical feedback, and that's all to do with the person's personality. But as soon as you can take on any feedback, that would be really beneficial for you. Um, that's all one way to learn, because we always some you get some people that might not have a good self confidence, and they might think everything they're doing is not perfect, and then you get some people that's overconfident. So by having somebody that shows you the mirror, it helps a lot to see how you can improve, because none of us are perfect and we always have something to learn. And with a mentor is a safe place where you can ask for that feedback, compared to people that might like be an enemy, but a mentor is on your side. So if you can take on that feedback that they give to you, you'll only grow more. And that's just like I say, it's when a mirror is being shown to you, it's good to have that, because that's how you really be perceived in the world. And although you might not know that you've got flaws, as soon as a person in a safe position as a mentor can give you that feedback, that's the best place to get it, and that will improve um, your work environment and your person and your experience if you could take it on board. And also with the feedback you could actually request. I would always encourage a mentee to ask, so if this is my flaw, can you assist me and help me on how to improve it, so that you've got some more ideas on how you can correct your flaws, if that's what it's called.
Yeah, yeah, no, you are right. I mean, because it's both ways. You ask for the feedback, the mentor or the leader or your boss will give you the feedback. If you take it, not personal first and then only on the professional side, and you are brave enough to always keep asking questions, like what you are saying, I will. I need to know then how can I change? Of
Yeah.
course, the mentors and the leaders will let you know.
It's also important for the mentor to ask for feedback from the mentee, so that they
Yes,
know
correct.
how to correct themselves in their teachings as well.
Yes,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
good to have it on both sides.
No, no, that's correct too. Because I mean, talking about humans, there can be people that are geniuses, the best on their careers, on their craftsmanship, and on everything. But then they are not built. They don't have the talent of passing the knowledge, the wisdom, all the experience. So
Yes.
sometimes they are very quiet, but like you said, if they don't ask for the feedback, the other guys will never know. So in the other hand, there are people who is super, let's say, with the vocation to do it, and they do it, in the right way. But yeah, you have different type of people.
And with mentor and mentees, like I say, in my opinion, it's a mutual relationship. So it should be beneficial and rewarding for both sides. Otherwise, it's just fake.
Correct, correct. That's a good point. I mean, it has to be beneficial for both. That's true. That's true. Well, I mean, the conversation has been flowing very nice. I would like just to ask you if you have any story or something that happened to you during your career that you remember. You know, it can be funny, good
Yeah.
one or bad one that you would like to share with us.
Yeah. Well, I've already told you about how my head was washed by a person that I at once didn't like. We ended up being good friends. That I so as our professional relationship grew and we had to stand against each other quite a few times. And I didn't only learn from him. He had to also apologize and pull back reverse his words in some of the cases. So that's also like somebody that you might think might be your enemy can be, like I say, your mentor or a person that you learn from. But as I mentioned before, we've got a few, over all our lifespan, we will find mentors all over. I've found mentors in each industry, of which one you yourself helped me a little bit with the cruise industry, and for that I really appreciate it. I guess mentoring is just not only in professional relationship. It could be also for family,
Yes.
your children, your friends, as a professional. To think about a story. I guess my best story was the one I already told you about, a person that I never wanted to learn from. But I want to perhaps end with something like knowledge. Knowledge is worth nothing if you can't share it. And that's why I think mentoring is really important. So knowledge is just nothing if not shared. And I've also learned from people and previous bosses that I really respected them, although I wanted them to be my mentor. They weren't really interested, and that's sometimes disappointing because the only lesson you'll learn from that is sometimes how not to be. So then you've also learned from them, even if they didn't want to teach you. You'll learn and teach yourself and know how not to be in future, how not to be a boss, or how not to act towards people. So whether you want to be a mentor or not, sometimes you do teach people, even if you don't mean to.
Yeah, just to add there, I mean, like you said, there are people who are just kind of, I wouldn't say like they don't want to be the mentors, but it's just like they're not really interested on it. But I would say that sometimes just by the model and by the example that they show, they become a role model for everybody. Just by that, and just by the apprentice observing, and analyzing all of the things that the person is doing, you learn tons. I mean, the guy, he doesn't need to tell you anything, just by his behavior, by the way he reacts in certain situations, when there is a problem, when there is not a problem. I mean, you just learn by the role model. And yeah, and I encounter those type of people that you respect and you look up after them just by the example that they give. And that's a super thing also to find out. I mean,
Yes.
and we as an apprentice, we also need to be ready, to see like, okay, this guy, he don't want to be my mentor, but I will learn just by watching him, just by
Yes.
analyzing him, by observing. So that's super important too. Well, I think
Yes.
the conversation was very nice. Thanks you way too much for your time. I appreciate your time, and
That's,
I think for now that's it. Maybe we'll meet again for another conversation, and I will let you
yeah.
know. So for now, ciao.
Thank you for the invitation. Bye bye.